Hello and welcome to the Clarity Circle, the Life Coach Expansion Society. I'm just turning that off there so we don't get any extra pings. First of all, wow, thank you so much, Eileen, for joining us and for sharing your wisdom and expertise today with these new or aspiring coaches that are wanting to up-level their business, that are interested in how a very established coach like yourself, that's been in the industry for many, many years, is succeeding, and all of your top tips as well. So I'm going to hand over to Eileen to give a little bit of an introduction about who she is and what she does and her community. And then we're going to go on to some questions that the ladies have asked in the group. So thank you for joining us, Eileen.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Stacey. So I'm Eileen. I'm basically a healer, a soul purpose coach, and spiritual marketing strategist. And I'm quite passionate about working with archetypes. I'm also, my business for many years, for 20 years, was mostly stress management, teaching stress management. But I always had a strong interest in archetypes. And it was something that I've always done part-time, for 10 years as a sideline, basically. So I had started my own journey. The reason I get into this was I had a lot of rare medical challenges from a young age. And I was kind of forced in a way to go down the holistic route, even though I was very drawn to that, that type of work. But mainstream medicine couldn't do anything for me. I was medically harmed. I had mercury poisoning at 19. A dentist put mercury up a root canal instead of the actual tooth. So I ended up with mercury poisoning and ended up in my 20s bedbound and housebound. And I had lots of other complications, but I'd also a rare condition from a baby. So what happened was, I first of all got a diagnosis as ME, but that wasn't the whole picture. And 30 years ago, there was holistic well-being, but in mainstream, for example, with ME was classed as all in your head, for example, right? And there was lots of things that nobody could do anything for me. And then I had threatened eye loss, and it was a bit of a medical mystery, basically. So it pivoted me to go and seek not just any healer or therapist. I did go to lots of people locally, but it had to force me out to go to real specialists in the holistic industry, because I had so many complexities that were very difficult to treat. And it was a very long, windy road, to be honest. And I did manage to get some of my health back. And I was very passionate about stress management. So that's how I started stress management. But while I was doing that, I had come across through psychotherapy and, psychology, the work of archetypes. And I was always fascinated. And I was always fascinated about purpose. Because as a child, I always had this strong sense that the gifts that you were given, it was important that you shared your gifts, right? I was very passionate, but I was quite I'm not saying a quiet child, a very introverted child, in some ways, very sensitive. But other people would say I was chatty, but there was that kind of sensitivity. So I was very sensitive to energies. I was very psychic and intuitive, and I kind of shut a lot of it down. Some of it I found very challenging, but I was very good at helping my friends find the right careers, right, and support them that way. So even though I went down the holistic and spiritual industry, one of the main things that I went out was taught stress management, but I also get asked to teach, like unemployment agencies and things like that, and doing personal development and things like that. So that was some aspects in my work, but I went out and I taught stress management and done coaching. But I did have to be honest, during this period, I still had a lot of health challenges, and stamina was a big problem, lots of other things. So I had to design my business very differently than most people. So I had to be very unique in how I approach things. So I started my business from the beginning as partly mail order. So I had an online business for 23 years other than my other business. So that would give me other sources of income when I wasn't able to do certain things. I trained in lots of holistic therapies, but I just wasn't physically fit enough to do those jobs, but I was a teacher. I was good at teaching.
Mm.
So I ended up, for lots of reasons, being asked to actually, even though I trained as a coach, I was always being asked to teach other therapists, and particularly like local charities, education, and all these type of organisations were having big problems. Actually, were bringing in holistic therapists, but they felt that sometimes they didn't have the skills and experience to deal with certain types of clients, just to do with the training that they had. So I was constantly being nudged to offer certain types of training in certain areas. So I did do that, but still I always get asked by fellow therapists, could I help them with either their website, or their business, or their marketing. Now, I'm going to tell you things that I did that I would not advise you to do, right? So I'm someone, which we'll talk about archetypes, is a natural, what they call a caregiver archetype, which means that you're very much an altruist, right? And you're driven by the heart, and you tend to give too much in your business. So you're not driven by money at all, right? So one of the biggest shadowing elements about caregiver is that they just want to serve. And I think as someone who lost a large part of my 20s being quite ill and not being able to do as much as I wanted, I just wanted to go out and be of service. So I've done a lot of things, like a lot of healers and therapists do, are trained in many disciplines, was trying to do too many things, but trying to be all things to all people.
Yeah. So it's so easy to do, isn't it? When you want to just be of service, it really is so easy.
And also I think as well, when you're so interested, you find all these things that you love and you're fascinated by, and you learn all these tools and techniques. But one of the things that I learned, and there is a reason this all relates to the archetype stuff, one of the things that I also experienced, sadly, was a lot of people selling me products and services that were never the right fit for me. And it was, I spent most of my income, and I've always spent most of my income's not been in material things, it's been on my health and my spiritual journey. And what I saw was a lot of well-meaning healers and therapists and coaches, but them not knowing there's only genius, and not understanding that everybody's not their ideal client, and that they're not here to serve everyone. And that cost me dearly. So, and there was times I was resentful because I had invested in things that I was promised the world, and they underdelivered because they couldn't accommodate me. Mm-hmm. So this was a big learning curve, but also equally on the other side, I saw some of the most gifted people who were struggling in their business because they weren't owning their gifts, and they were still trying to cater for everybody. And I often found the most gifted people were not actually always the most successful, and some of the most people that were making a lot of money weren't necessarily that great at what they were doing. They just had good business mindset, or they could talk the talk. And that was a big frustration for me, because I could see, I saw some people, and I also seen, someone myself, a dedicated, I was, because of my own experiences, I went down so many routes because I wanted to learn so many things, and also because there were things that I didn't think were maybe 100% true. I learned a lot of things, and I didn't want to be someone who just skimped when I was training. So I tended to train with, and like, for example, so I started studying Reiki over 30 years ago, but I actually went with 3 different Reiki teachers and done loads of different levels with different teachers. So that I could get a wide, so you could get a wider perspective, right?
And I've done that with all my coaching as well. And it literally is. And I am like a sponge like that. And the different perspectives that come from different blueprints from different people, you can bring that together to bring you.
Of course. And also we do all see things completely different, and there is, and there's not one truth. And also it depends on people's level of consciousness, their awareness, where they're coming from. We all have blocks, we all see things differently. So that was, but one of the biggest challenges, I think, I did start to try and go down the corporate side, but the corporate side never ever worked for me. Everything went wrong every time I went down the corporate side, right? And it was because I spent so much money. I had spent 10, 20, 30 times more than my fellow therapists in my training. And I was trying to justify for what I was spending. And then was me trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
And it was a sector that I was never going to survive. As an empath, is extremely sensitive, had someone who had extreme health challenges, who could only work certain blocks hours. I needed to often, I couldn't drive very fast, so I had to pay for it just was not a good business model for me. And then it wasn't till 10, say maybe, I'm saying it's probably longer now, maybe 11 or 12 years ago, I done an archetype course with friends of mine. It was a branding archetype course. The two of us done it at the same time. Now, I had kind of tapped into using it in brand, but I didn't in a serious way. And something just really shifted energetically for me. And it was actually a bit of an eye-opener, because it brought up, it made me see myself in a new light, and it made me see that I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. I thought I was being authentic. I didn't see that the things that I would think were just everyday things, were actually my secret sauce, that were my most powerful, the things, why I get repeated work from the NHS, the charities, why was I the most popular trainer for them, was because of these archetypal traits. And I wasn't fully embracing that. And it was a big eye-opener. It really made me look at myself, my business, why certain things didn't work, and why other things came very easily. So I was seeing myself through new eyes. And that's when I really started then bringing it more and more with clients I was already working with. Yeah. So that, and then it's evolved from there. I have to be honest, it still had only been mostly a sideline, to probably maybe just about recently I'm moving, the rest of my other business is, I'm going to be eliminating that. But because of COVID, I went back to doing some of the stress management to help people and do other things. But now it's more sole purpose work, and it's helping people use archetypes, not just in your branding, but actually building a business around your strengths within your archetypes, because it gives you good business models to understand, So that's basically how, I got here.
That's absolutely incredible, because I understand it like no end, because this is what I teach at the start of anyone becoming a life coach. The first thing I say is, you need to be unique to you. Like the best, your unique selling point in the corporate world, as we like to say, is you. So, I think I sent an email out with not long ago that said, look, these are the top things I got told. And one of them was like, look, find somebody who's been really successful in this industry and copy them. No. Okay. Find somebody who's being really successful that aligns with you, and use their content and them as a person to inspire you, right? Inspire you.
Difference.
Massively.
You should never copy anybody's content. Because we're all, as you say, it's getting inspiration, and that's also, even everybody, as you say, the blueprint you said at the beginning, everybody's got their unique blueprint, and we're here to do something very natural. It shouldn't be strained, it shouldn't be forced.
Yeah, 110%. And I think on one of the questions that we've got on here, so so Fleur is a spiritual empowerment coach. She's a Reiki master. She's one of my educators. She now teaches the Reiki courses for me, and
it's coming in and
out. We've got a Reiki master retreat. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
That's better.
We've had storms and all sorts here. So she said, what valuable piece of advice would you give to someone starting out in the spiritual coaching?
I think it would be similar to what I've said. First of all, get to know yourself really well. And it's so important to really get to know yourself really well, and to focus on what you're brilliant at right now. That'll evolve and it can slightly change, but it's about you starting where you're at. A lot of people are so focused on certain types of clients, or just getting money and focusing on these are the people that are going to make me the most money or whatever, they miss the point. It's about you starting where you are already very naturally great at. You've already got a good skill set on, where there's resonance, and it's about you stepping into your power from there. I believe that a lot of people build their business on rocky foundations by trying to be someone else, or who they think they need to be.
Yeah.
Massive. And if they can tap into what you, because we're already, it's here, it's just unlocking it often, you know.
Yeah, and that's the correct who you think you need to be. But there's a difference between manifesting the life that you want, creating the life you desire, stepping into that vibrational frequency of going in and going, right, okay, so this is who I am right now. These are my goals and aspirations. This is who I need to become to achieve those things. But what people can do is, if they don't use, this is one of my biggest things, specificity, and they're not specific in the way that they can merge their future life and their current life with their beliefs and values, you end up becoming and trying to be somebody that you're absolutely not.
Exactly. And I think it's different. It's the slight, just the wording and understanding what we actually mean there. Because you say it's the core values. And I think that we've all got, to me, it's like, and that's why I talk about the soul essence, it's like a God spark inside you, and you've got your own unique essence, and it's already perfect, but obviously all the conditioning and all the other things have kind of, it's like almost a crystal underneath the crystal, and it's all been kind of, so it's more unwrapping. And of course you have to have these goals and things, but as you say, it's so important that we align within here instead of the ego.
Yes.
And it's so easy to I think there's a lot in the coaching, and that was another reason why I started doing more spiritual marketing approaches. I was horrified at some of the things that were coming out the coaching industry in relation to marketing, overhyped marketing strategies, really pushy salesy marketing that to me were so dishonest and manipulative and did not align with anyone that had any spiritual integrity within them. And I was seeing this constant with a lot of healers. And I think this is where, when we can get into our core values, you know, that's so important. And you can feel into that, and you understand yourself, and you build your business around your core values. That's a big, big thing. A lot of people, sometimes their goals don't actually match because they think they have to set goals a certain way, and it maybe doesn't match with what their soul needs, or their soul expression needs, you know.
Yeah, and that is something I teach. That's, you know, my strategy side is the mission statement and their values of their business comes from within themselves, and that's what goes out into their marketing, into their branding, into their colors, into the frequency that they're putting out, because you will align with clients based on your energetic frequency. I'm not a big believer of this ideal client. I'm a believer in who is it, the person, what's the transformation you can create for that person. So showcasing the thing that you can resonate with, the transformation you can create, and the outcome for their future life. Working out those three staple things will allow you to craft a marketing strategy that correctly puts out that vibration to bring in. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, or if you put out that I only want a female with blue eyes, or, you know, a male at this. That's not what we're asking for. We're saying, if these people have this situation, have these feelings, have these emotions, have these past experiences, have this ancestral pattern, have this blueprint, we can take them on this journey to elevate them and release them from what's holding them back.
Thank you. No, and you've got a valid point. I do work with soul clients. I do talk about soul clients, and I do sometimes strategy, but I think it depends on what type of business it is. I mean, obviously I work not just with coaches, we work with healers. So sometimes, even though someone can, like, for example, I work with healers where I feel energetic aligned with me, but I know that what they're offering is not still like energetic aligned. I like it and I like it, but they might not still be able to offer the solution that I need. So, there's getting that fine. So it depends, I think, on what industry and what you're doing. And I think also for example, I work with a lot of older healers that have been in the field 20, 30, 40 years, right? So sometimes they're getting to more working on a really expert level and they're maybe teaching. So there's lots more definitions, you know what I'm saying? There's maybe not specifications, but I totally agree with you on, and vibration is so important. And one of the things when you are in alignment, you are able to, as you said, your colours, everything about is sending out that frequency. It's so much easier for people to get that crystal clarity on what you actually stand for. But one of the big mistakes I do see a lot of businesses make in relation to colours is they choose colours they like instead of choosing the colours that their energetic blueprint in your business represents. So they're focusing maybe fashionable colours or colours that they need, and they need personally, and that's why they're attracted to it, instead of the colour that is actually representing the solution of what they're offering. So even in my business, I've changed some of my colours because the business has evolved, but there's also sides of the business where the colours were different because it was appropriate to do with the energy of those programs and what my essence, even though I'm one individual, we've all got different essences in, and some roles within a certain program are going to be slightly different. Yeah. So, you know, it's this thing. And I think that, and then, you know, so, you know, we definitely, you know, have the same idea here. And I think it's so important that when people understand that also people, one of the things that I see a lot of people is just talking about raising your vibration. Of course, that's a really important thing. But sometimes people forget that by just concentrating on that they're not expressing themselves. We're all individual vibrations. So it's not just about raising your vibration. It's being more of you. It's about being able to express more of you and to really tap in and also own aspects of you that you've maybe not since childhood actually allowed out. So to me, that's really important. You know?
Yeah, I love that. And I think, like you say, inner child work and expressing yourself in, you know, in any way that you found joy at that point, bringing that into your adult life really does make a shift within you, because naturally it does raise you to your perfect alignment state. And that alignment state generally is when you were of a high vibration at a certain point. And so like you say, it's okay to say, oh, you know, let's raise our vibration and do this. But if you tap into things that used to bring you joy without having all of these layered cake emotions and compression from the outside world, yeah,
it's the divinity. I was just talking about it in a video I'd done another day, but posted, you know, on YouTube today, I think this morning, in about the divine child. And if we can be able to, is the divinity within us, because the child comes in with that divine essence, doesn't it? It doesn't have to pretend, doesn't have to be anyone. It's already got that divine spark, and it naturally goes to what it feels attracted to and is aligned to. There's no until the world starts putting all its stuff on.
Yeah. And this is where, you know, all of these, I don't like to say this word, but the conditioning, I don't know, I need to find a better word for that. All of the things that come to us within our life, you know, the people that we surround ourselves with, you know, the different things that happen do actually create and move towards our outcomes. They do massively. And people sometimes don't realize that, and they'll say, oh, you know, I'll just be at a networking event and somebody say, oh yeah, and I say, oh, what got you into this field of work? And you know, like, oh yeah, well this happened to me, and I'll say, oh right, okay, so did you go? And they're like, oh no, that was fine. I'm thinking, whoa, like that is absolutely not fine. Like you cannot brush that under the carpet, because that situation that you're pushing down will manifest as physical ailments in later life. And this is a huge thing within the world today. We've spent, you know, generations of suppressed emotions, and if as coaches, as healers, educators, if we are not putting out to the universe that we can help people process this, but also highlighting what will happen if we don't deal with this, and you know the limitations that it puts on all of it, life massively.
I think it's become more apparent. Well, to me, if you look through the pandemic, a lot of things became more apparent, and we saw even people's level of consciousness and awareness. Where was people very disconnected from their soul, their intuition, their spirituality, but also people really getting into their fear, and then also their old trauma coming up. And
Yeah.
you're seeing it very much the now, where people's old traumas that's never been dealt with. And it happens for us all. It does happen because there's so much going on in the collective.
Yeah,
But
massively.
it's becoming like big monsters now for people.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
And one of the things that I saw in the when I worked in counselling, like can organise, that kind of field, was you saw so many people in their 50s and 60s, a lot of trauma that had never been dealt with just starting to come out then. And it was not a pleasant situation, because a lot of them too, as you get older, sometimes it's harder to physically deal with all the struggles, because you're so you're kind of thinking into one way of doing things. It's like in your late life, when you're younger, you can make changes a lot easier in your life.
Yeah.
But when people leave it to later stage, it takes hold.
It does. And if they're used to vibrating at a certain frequency, their environment will vibrate at that frequency. So if they've spent 50 to 60 years, and I've had this with my clients, I had a one-to-one client just before Christmas last year. She was 60 when she was 59 when she came to me, and there've been lots of different events, and we described the situation as a pressure cooker, and you can see it bubbling, and the lid just flies off, and it's right. Okay, let's implement small things to make change, raise awareness, and try. And reframing that was so difficult for her, to the point where, we did 6 months of just focusing on one of the elements, and it was subtle small changes to create a transformation that anybody within the coaching, the counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, understands. Okay, well, we can create massive shifts so quickly with the power of the knowledge that we have and what we've studied. But factually, sometimes that's not possible when it comes to somebody who has led a very one-track life.
Well, I have to be honest, there's been certain challenges that I had, especially. I had a lot of trauma around medical and holistic. Even though I loved, I had also a lot of trauma, horrendous experiences. So I found myself in some loops and was attracting constantly situations. So, sometimes there's certain things, and also trying to get to the deeper issue. Even one of them was, it took me years to realize this, was there was an unworthiness of being well. Like I didn't know this was a belief. It wasn't 2 years later, it was through somebody that was doing theatre, where I realized that it was actually at some core level, I didn't think I was worthy to be well. And I also got the shame because I was coming into the industry as someone not fully healed. But and I know that just because it's physical, we're all a work in progress. But it's funny how people have certain. Now I had actually healed from lots of things that were I was told I wouldn't. So, people don't always see the bigger picture, but it's interesting how we all do. There's things, we all have vulnerabilities. And but one of the things for me was interesting. I went to a guy called Ed Stracher, and he's a top healer in America. He'd said to me, I was cursed most of my life, from childhood.
Wow.
Right. And see, when I started working with him, see the shifts that I made. Unbelievable, the shifts that I made after work. And I had a lot of people who'd done curse work and had never done anything. And he tends to work with top holistic doctors, top people in America who have suddenly had bizarre things, or can't, no matter what they do, can't shift it. So there's always more. We're always learning more. There's always things that sometimes we don't always see the bigger picture, but it's fascinating,
It is. And there's one thing, so the Clarity Circle coaching diploma, the life coaching diploma, I developed based on all of the teachings that I've had, all of the courses that I took, and my own life experience, and lots of different things. And one of the biggest successes within the Clarity Circle method, right? And like so many people, and I've used it as an exercise elsewhere with clients, is this timeline exercise that I do.
Right.
And we work out basically any parts of like serious joy, or any parts of where we felt we were upset or angry, and we bring those as life situations within our attention where we are then, and we note down how we felt about it. Do we need to give forgiveness? Is there anything that we could do to release this, to let go of it, to move ourselves forward? But then what happens is, like you said, within our life, things come up again at certain situations. And we think, oh, well, I thought I'd healed that wound, that abandonment wound, or that feeling of not being worthy. But we need to understand that this is a layered cake. So I always say there's a different emotion, layers on top. You get yourself a beautiful rainbow cake with all the sprinkles on, and you're cutting through the layers, right? It's the best way to explain it, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and the method then teaches you that each point within your life, as you're growing and evolving in personal and professional development, when something comes up, you go back to that timeline and you look at it from a different perspective, from the person you are now, which means you could have grown several frequencies, several dimensions, several,
Yes, definitely.
And it literally allows you, and the transformations that people have gone through, so they don't see it as, oh, I thought I'd healed that. It's saying, what's being brought to the surface now for me to look at what I need to heal? What do I need to see from this situation that I didn't see at the time to allow me to raise my conscious level of awareness and grow as a person? And it works. I mean, as you can tell, I'm like,
yes.
It's so incredible. It's such a fabulous exercise. It's unbelievable.
Because I think there's a lot of myths in the healing and coaching industry where there's a lot of generalizations put out. So people look at things and it's like, so they think that just because we have the power of the mind, of course there is the capability of instant healing and things like that, but most of us, unfortunately, don't. It doesn't work for some of us. I think it's to do with level of consciousness or blocks or other things that we can't see. And sometimes there is a lot of things put out there that can put a lot of pressure on us as well. And people have this magic wand thing where they also can go to a healer expecting that someone's just going to do it for them. Exactly.
No.
So but I think also part of that is, so I've met some phenomenal healers and this guy can actually heal a lot of cancers in 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's why he's classed as a top healer, right? So I've met lots of people like that, what phenomenal, but he's really in his own genius. But he's in his 60s and he has been a bit of a genius in his life, and he's also goes and he does train with the top. He goes to each country and he'll go, right, who's the top healer in that country? That's who I'm training me for 2 years. That's kind of way he approaches it.
Yeah.
But we all have, a unique, sometimes we all have a unique gift, right, and what we're supposed to do. And I want to say this to anybody that's watching this. Sometimes people have this thing that they need to have this title, or they have to be great, like as if they're that's not what it's about. Sometimes the smallest thing that you do in your daily life for other people can actually have the biggest impact. And sometimes people in their work feel as if they have to this fancy title and have to, and at the end of the day, you show up as you and you do what you're great at. Yeah. And often the things that you actually don't think are that valuable can actually be the most valuable thing, because it's the simple things in life that sometimes are the most powerful and it's that butterfly effect. Yeah. And I think this is so important for people to understand,
Hugely. And leading with love, the highest form of vibration, leading with love. We've all been in situations where we've not been the best version of ourselves, and we, we can take full accountability for that. But do you know what, like you said, if we are leading with love, if we are just doing what we're meant to be doing as a person, and you make that little bit of an effort, you smile, you say the words of wisdom, even the smallest things. I think I shared it a couple of weeks ago. I got a testimonial, and a lady had been following me for 2 years and never once commented, never once. And she said, you've changed my life and you've kept me going in the hardest times. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, But those things to me, like, that makes me so happy. Like, that's the being of service. Is there any way that I can help you? And it is just unbelievable. And this is what I say to all of the ladies, especially, we're talking about marketing and business and strategies, which I love. It's one of my biggest passions, seeing a sustainable foundation of a business set up and succeed. I'm like, yep, they're still going, 3 years on, and that is yeah. And I'm like, and I see all these others come in and they disappear because they didn't set up a sustainable business foundation. And I always say to the ladies, when you're fearful of stepping out and telling people and showing people how you can assist them and just showing your personality as a person, just remember, being of service. Being of service. You're showing up for that person that may need you, and the slightest little thing that you say has that massive impact on somebody's life. Even being just saying the word chakra, somebody's like, what is chakra? Oh my gosh. And then they start learning about the energetic frequency within our body and the colors. And the next minute you get, an email. It's like, oh, I've just learned about this and it's incredible. Thank you so much. And it's that, I like to call it spreading a tidal wave of clarity, because the clarity circle, that is why I founded the business, to bring people together, to create a community and connect. And with your expertise in the industry and the healers, it must be sometimes so frustrating seeing all of these things that people are putting out that's not authentic, that they're like, oh, it blows my mind, because I know the time and that I've spent on a lot of my own education, a lot of my own reading, blood, sweat and tears going into everything that I deliver from a passion and a heart point of view. It literally boils my whatever. I'm really trying not to swear. So it must be hard.
I do. And see, because I'm a caregiver archetype, it's very much about safety, right? So safety and effectiveness. So the caregiver doesn't want to waste anybody's money, right? So so it's that altruist and about making sure everybody's safe and that you're being generous. So I have to be honest, there's a lot, I do get triggered by lots of things. Not as bad, but I do see, it does frustrate me. I think that's probably the biggest, better word. And I kind of think, and I do also see a lot, one of the biggest things I think is frustrating is seeing a lot of training schools misleading people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just thinking this is the next thing to get a job in, when lots of people coming in that are never going to make careers in it because it's not aligned really with their skill set, and they don't have maybe the commitment, or they're not in circumstances where they can they don't really know what it takes to run a business. So there's all that kind of thing. I mean, I come from a family business background, so I know what it takes to run a business. And I think there's lots of things, but one of the things that shocks me most is the fast track. And that did start shocking me over 20 years ago, what was starting to happen in the holistic and the healing industry. I mean, I think I have to be honest, I've always felt healing was should many modalities be longer than what should, just to do with when I think of codependency and issues, these kind of things that sometimes a lot of healers sometimes just think because they've got their certificate and they're healing, that suddenly, it's the wounded heal, it's the ego. And they want to help, but they don't understand the ego's playing up as well. And I do think that it's got even worse. I mean, you're seeing all sorts of things that normally used to at least take 2 years to train in, and people can do it in 2 days. I mean, it's alarming. It's alarming.
It absolutely, it takes me off the Richter scale. I've been developing an energy healing modality for over a year, right? And tonight I've got 6 ladies tonight starting a beta program, right? With over 20 modules, with a blueprint, with people's feelings, everything takes into a consideration, private group support that's going to take a long time to go through, check the transformations, educate them correctly. And that's been developing for over a year. And same with the coaching diploma. People come to me and they go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Then they get into it and they're like, oh, there's like 12 modules that I need to complete workbooks for. Oh, and then you want me to do over 18 hours of practical work. Then you want to have recorded sessions so that you can analyze. Then you've got to show up to different, and I'm like, oh yeah, all of this because I will, with my name on that certificate.
Exactly. Yeah.
No coach is going through my certification program that I wouldn't trust myself.
Stacey, I'm exactly the same. That's why with the stress coach training, even though a lot of people think because it's stress coach training, it was stress. That's why it was actually relaxation therapy and accredited stress management, not coaching, because you'll know the amount of one-to-one and to really watch what a coach is doing. So it was relaxation, even though that I just was added because everybody knew me as a stress coach for years, so I just added training. But what's one of the biggest challenges that I had, but just to do with my circumstances, there's lots of reasons why I changed the business model. But one of the things that I was determined to do, like you, was there was no way that I was having my name attached to. And I got lots of people inquiring who just want, but can you not make it quicker? Can you not do that? Because my course was 120 hours. And a lot of people just were saying, can I not just do 2 days? And I'm like, no way. People or people at first, the first time I put it out, were clearly not used to doing the work. A lot of holistic therapists were different because a lot of holistic therapists are used to doing, maybe going to college for doing a year or 2 years full time. So they have a different mindset. But I find a lot of people that maybe were just working, they were used to seeing these fast track courses. I know that's why I would say to you, so that's why even when you get your archetype, when you understand what your archetypes are, you can start focusing on only the clients that you want and specific that have similar core values to you, because that's what you want. You don't want clients that don't have similar core values, are not going to value, respect, or put you in a situation. I had one situation many years ago where I trained someone and I sent her to an organisation and she messed up seriously. And it really taught me a big lesson because I assumed that she had a certain amount of level of awareness. I assumed wrong. And it's not just about training. So one of the things that I look for mostly in even though that's an area that I'm leaving behind, was students was looking for people that had good self-awareness and had developed awareness, could see things from a bigger perspective. I think that's far more important than lots of things, because nowadays we see people with such lack of awareness.
Yeah.
And no discernment at all.
And this conversation is absolutely, this interview is incredible for me because, another big thing I teach is the perspective, and there's observations that go on for over a week and we look at them from different perspectives and different angles. And, if you were this person, if you're from that person, and it's really embodying that knowledge and that skill to go, actually, as a coach, where do I need to be right now? How am I seeing this? What's changing? How are they seeing it? And this comes back to, I do a lot of, the different learning styles that people have, how they feel, how they hear, how they think, what they see, and this allows you to really tap into what that client really needs. And with a lot of these £29, and I will say a load of crap.
That is frightening, actually.
Start your introduction to life coaching for £29. Absolutely get lost, seriously. Right? It is ridiculous.
I've also had a lot of students who've went and spent a lot of money in coaching or therapy programs and been told, absolutely shocking what they've spent and what they got, and felt really angry because then they had to come and retrain. I'll not say the person's name, but there's someone that's quite a famous hypnotherapist. It's not a female, just in case anybody thinks, they might think who this is, but it was a man. And basically, it was one of the reasons where I then started taking it more seriously, the business side of helping coaches and therapists. And what happened was people had been going to this hypnotherapist, studying with this hypnotherapist. He did do fast track, right? But they were buying these coaching programs. And they had this package, and it was also marketing, and it was a disaster. It was crap. What was getting, and they bought things that it wasn't exactly what was said on the package. And I remember this couple came in. I felt so sorry for them. They were a retired couple, and they both had went to his courses, spent all their retirement money on him and his coaching programs and a website that was not fit for purpose. It was a disaster. And the two of them were in some state when they came to me, but I had 20 people came to me over like 3-month period, all the same scenario, right? And it kind of, and then what, as people were working me, I was giving them like free, some, you know, a lot of them free advice, and they're saying to me, you gave us more. And maybe 20 or 10 sessions we had with him, one-to-one, you gave us more business advice in just that half an hour session than that person who is someone very prominent. And they were really angry about that. So, you know, this is, unfortunately, integrity is not, a lot of people go into this under, unfortunately, not sometimes with the correct motives. And it can leave, and this is what you've got to remember, it can leave then more mistrust. So this is why it's so important to get your marketing crystal clear, to show, for example, there's probably a lot of your audience that are probably quite strong alchemist archetypes, right? Now, the alchemist archetype is got a very powerful way of being able to help people transform. You know, the catalyst of change. They're the person that can help people see that miracles and magic can happen. But the negative side of the alchemist, because it's been used in so many brands and media, is it's the illusion, the deception. So even though it can be a very powerful brand, and it's a lovely brand, I love working with that brand, right? I mean, I've actually got, that's my second, but you've got to be conscious that, and then the collective people are used to so much overhype and words being used by media and things that are not true. The alchemist has to be able to really show the evidence.
Yeah.
And has to not to be seen that they're being too tacky with their words, or looking as if they're overusing the word transform, you know, because it can feel gimmicky then.
That's what I always say. That I said, think about this, ladies, like when you're finding what you're going to say and who you're going to be, you know, with your business, think about how it's going to sound to the people out there. Yeah.
And the people that you really want to work with, the people that you're going to be able to help the most, because that's what it's about, you know. And that is because, you know, and that's where, you know, and that's why I thought, because one of the things you'll also see with, I know in coaching is there's clear, tangible results, but sometimes with healers, it's not always as clear and tangible for sometimes a certain, you know, and levels of consciousness. So they have a hard time sometimes marketing themselves. But the archetypes can help them understand what makes them unique and what is the core values in the energetic blueprint that their soul clients are going to be attracted to. What is it that makes, out of 100, for example, Reiki practitioners, why would someone go to them instead of the rest of them? What is it about that is going to make that they maybe can't see themselves? That kind of can help them tap in and see it from an objective, because sometimes we're so close to ourselves, we don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why reflective practice and, you know, bringing in accountability partners is so important. And I just want to, you know, testimonials are king, you know, like, you know, testimonials, people who are showcasing what you are capable of, what you do, how you've helped them within their businesses. It is massive. And I always say to people, look, you know, when I send emails after doing a coaching call, cut that part out of what happened, how you gave, you know, how we got to the roadmap of where they got to, and then the client testimonial, let people see the case studies of the magic that you can create for people and the transformations. Yeah. And just touching on a thing that you said previously, you said, well, that's changed. I actually changed that in my business because of a personal situation. And this is something that I really love to like emphasize to all of my students, all of the coaches that I work with, all of the clients. It's okay to evolve.
I evolve all the time, because I did notice, you know, one of the questions that you're going to ask, because you know how you showed me some of the questions, there was something about to do with my packages. Now, I am someone, I'm a creator, so I, Stacey, constantly evolve. I'm not one of these traditional business models where stick to just one thing. I work intuitively, and I work where I'm guided to. Now, sometimes, and I'm going to be completely honest, I sometimes just do what I want to do. And I know that's not always the best thing to do, right? But I like to have fun in my business.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would say is that we have to be able to have, like, for example, 5 years ago, I had such extreme noise sensitivity after I nearly died of sepsis. And I had such noise sensitivity that even the slightest pitch could knock me out. So I was still trying to run a business, and I had lost all feeling and problems with my right arm. Then I had all these problems with my teeth. And this is really embarrassing, but for 3 years, I kept breaking teeth and I couldn't go online. And a lot of dentists and surgeons it was complicated. So I would have periods where I couldn't go online. So I had to think out the box. And I've just been, because of my circumstances, I'm very adaptable, I'm flexible, and I've learned. So my business model has, believe me, I've been tried and tested in
Haven't we all when we're seasoned coaches?
Yeah.
And
what I would say is my business model has never been based on a standard model, because I've had to adapt. So most of my programs are self-study. You know, I've got ebooks, I've got so much content, but that's suited me because I was able to do it at my own pace and my own way. And then the other programs, so I've got a program that's coming out soon, but I took time out and hadn't done a full, I took time out from because of family circumstances. I said, I'm not going to commit last year to up to about this time. I'm not going to do a coaching program as such. I'm just going to do the other stuff, because it felt like too much of a big commitment. Because, you know, when you're doing the coaching programs, you need to be committed. When people are, you need to know, I couldn't, because of circumstances, fully commit.
Yeah.
And I think as business owners, it's so important that we do not just follow one business model. Yeah. You have to fit the business model that you say, you have to suit your circumstances, how you want your, you know, everything. This is where I think this one cookie size fit all approach doesn't work. It doesn't work.
No. And like you said, I have 3 parts of my business. I have my coaching and business strategy, personally, me. I have my education side, which is, you know, all my education programs and the diplomas and teaching and educators and expanding that way, you know. And then I also have my network marketing, you know, so I have a team within holistic approach to beauty, which is, you know, wellness and all of that. All those light me up. Like, I love being a part of that community within the network marketing. It's very positive. It's a vibe, because often in other parts of my business, I am the boss. So I can't
understand that.
Yeah. And you don't get that vibe because people are looking to you for the vibe. Whereas within my network marketing, we're all vibing. So it really brings that energy to my business and to me.
Stacey, this is a very valid point. This is one of the things that I talk about a lot, is how, you know, balance sometimes, because so we can, it is good sometimes to have a couple of sides for lots of reasons in your business, but obviously don't start them all at the one time.
No, you've got to evolve them, yeah.
Because that's when people start, you know, but it gives you
15 years, nearly 18 years in network marketing.
So that gives you a great balance. And because also I think when you are, like, to me, you know, I get the impression that the leader archetype's coming through for you, the queen. I get a nice queen, but a gentle, graceful queen coming through here. Now, for you, that is very important, that, you know, you're certain, you're putting yourself, one of the things about anyone who is being coaching the type of work that you do is that can take a lot of energy, and you're the one that's up front all the time. And it's so important that you do have a balance, and we are all multifaceted. And this is why I like that that's what you've done, because that gives you a lot more balance. And it's really important for us to do that, because we'll spend a lot of time in our work and we can love aspects. I mean, there's things that I love in my work, but I do things differently in different sides for different reasons. You know, and that's what we get to do. And we're lucky that we can get to do that, because I always feel it's so sad. I see so many people that are in jobs that they don't have the courage to leave. you know,
Oh,
and I've always, no matter what, I've focused. I was one of these people from a young age that I didn't like a job. I just went, oh, I'm going to do something different. And my parents were like, oh my God. I mean, I
yeah.
had like 10 jobs before I was 21, you know.
Because you were finding your, I've never fit in a box, as as you, that's just not who we are. And you have to be you, and the 9 to 5 thing, and that's fine if it works for you, but I see so many unhappy people, and I'm like, look, create the life that you desire. That is, one of my biggest mission statements within my business. If people say, oh, I can't do that. Actually, it's to do with the habit. It's to do with consistency. It's to do with growing as a person. Just because you are in this situation right now doesn't mean that if you've never tried, you're never going to be able to step forward into that space. And that's where aligning yourself and putting yourself in the fields of the people that are inspiring you and that can help you move forward is so important. Taking that one little step. We are, spiritual beings currently living a physical life, in my opinion. I always say that to my coaches, please say in your opinion, in my opinion. But we get one time here. So if something is not serving you well and you feel like you want to go up and you want to up level, let them bloody out level. Absolutely do not waste your time. Adios.
I spent a lot of time in my stress management side of my business attracting so many clients who were very successful financially in the work they did, or even in their businesses, but they still weren't happy because they got caught in the trap of just focusing on the security and the money. And half of them ended up nearly having young heart attacks, cancer, all sorts of things. And it was like almost they didn't see the signs. You know how sometimes you see the signs? A lot of them, they didn't. It was almost then it's suddenly heart attack, suddenly burnout. And then they would have to question everything about what they did. And then, when they were being honest, then to be honest, I'm not really, I'm making out I'm happy, but I'm not happy. And I just
all the time.
I'm one of these people, I would rather, have not much, but be happy what I do. And I know everybody's different, but for me to get up in the morning and to actually be able to do something. I spent a large part of the last 6 years being housebound because of these types of seizures, right? And I still can be very happy, and a lot of people are always surprised because I love what I do and I have a great passion for what I do. And I just think that, and also it's a soul level. At a soul level, you just feel that that's what you're put on there for. And there's nothing better than feeling as if this is what I'm here to do and I'm loving what I'm doing and I'm making a difference. And a lot of people, it's a shame because, particularly what I said at the beginning, people are hiding their gifts, that they're not sharing the gifts that they're here to share. And we all have an important mission right now. I do really think, especially the way that things are shifting, I think that it's so important for people because I think the more that we can all own our gifts, we help the collective, we help everyone else shift because we can step in our power. When people are not owning their gifts, they're not in their power. They're not in their own channel. And I see this a lot, even while healers.
The weave is unbelievable. They're attached to cords that are not where they're meant to be, and they're wondering why they're being pulled, and they don't know what. Sometimes, I'm like, get clarity. They're like, ugh. And I'm like, well, clearly that it's a big ball of wool, isn't it? And it's like, it really needs to be untangled massively. And one of the messages that I got 5 years ago, consistently before 5 years ago, was if I had card readings or oracle cards or any, I used to go to ancestral circles or moon circles, and I would always get a light worker in disguise. And and I was like, when am I going to step into this light? Because and it took for me to training so much, and then I got myself a coach. And she assisted me. And I remember the first day she said to me, look, if you don't go live and if you don't show people how you can assist them, how did you feel at the time when you were at that breaking point? And she said, would you have found solace in somebody like you? And I was like, absolutely. I was like, that would have carried me through that time at Christmas when I was on my own with my children. And like sharing that joy and like that feeling. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, so every single time when you do that and when you go live, you are showing up for the younger version of you so that you can assist people on their journey. And I was like, wow, like,
do you know what you said about the light work in disguise? One of the things that I've been saying even in my groups recently is that, you know, we have this conception of what a light worker is, and light workers are also people in normal jobs that have an important mission at the moment. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be the, you know, so for some people, yes, that is what they have to step up in another role. But one of the things I think is at the moment that also people come into the healing industry and they've invested so much in their tools that they think they have to create a business, and then they maybe realize that no, it may be some slight change in their career or something. And light workers are needed in everyday life at the moment. Because we need the bankers, we need people in normal jobs, the doctors, the nurses, to be the light workers at the moment, and to bring that higher level of consciousness and that new way of doing things. And I do believe as well the creatives are going to be really important. People that are creative for creative solutions, the pioneers. There's a lot of things going on at the moment where it's about us all stepping into what we're great at. And I think everyone underestimates at an individual level the power that they have just to be themselves and just to share what they're here to do. And I'm very passionate about this. This is one of the reasons why I've kind of slightly, even though I still do the archetypal, I feel more this purpose, because I'm watching even a lot of even healers and experienced healers not fully step up to the plate.
Yeah.
And I saw this, I get dead frustrated through COVID because of a lot of reasons, and I'm kind of going, come on, let's get on, because I could see a lot of people sitting so squashed in their power, but also not seeing the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a pivotal time in society that we don't, it's like people don't see there's so much at the other side of that mountain, that we can create an amazing world. It might, you know, it appears to people that, oh my God, right? And yeah, it might feel as if it's ready to break, but it's actually because at the other side of that is a world, and I'm getting goosebumps because I know this at soul level, is like your children, and I don't have children, but I have beautiful nieces and nephews, right? I have 23 nieces and nephews, right? And I wish for them a beautiful world. And we're the ones that are helping create that. We are putting that energetic blueprint into the world right now. And I just think that by everyone standing up and doing what they're here to do, we're all doing it together. We're all helping each other together. And I think that's the most important thing.
And you know, I did a little video yesterday on something because I caught myself last week apologizing for a part of my behavior. But actually, when I stepped back, because I was a little bit stressed out, so you know, my dad was having an operation, things, and I caught myself after I'd done it, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, actually, I take full accountability for who I am and what I do, and you know what I stand for. This is a you problem, and it's you that has an issue with who I am as a person. I'm absolutely fine. So therefore, we're not aligned. And actually stepping into that power and knowing what my beliefs and values are and who I am as a person actually gave me even more energetics than anything. I felt like I was walking around on thin air. I was like, I know who I am. I'm okay with who I am.
No, that's so powerful, Stacey, and I think that's so important. I mean, I must admit, I felt that was a few things through the last 2 years. I felt I had to do that a wee bit more because I was being a bit of maybe an over empath and over sensitive, too busy. The only thing is with sometimes clients being so aware of their wounding, that I was the rescuer would come out a lot, right? And that would, you know, not good, right? So the rescue was constantly saving them, right? And then also attracting circumstances where the victim mode. And that's where I had to say, no, and come on, right, come on. And so one of the things that I was going to say as well, one of the things when people sometimes when we were in our so with me, I'm a strong caregiver, but one of the things that I have been stepping now is more in is the alchemist and the leader, because it was almost as if I was hiding my experience. I was not owning that level of wisdom and experience. And you'll understand that it's important to, so part of that vision is, even though we're not being something we're not, we're just owning more of who we are and what's already there, because sometimes we've got all these aspects to us that we've, for whatever reasons of wounding, we're not owning. And it's a journey, it is, and none of us, and believe me, I have my moments, and I don't always get it right.
Don't we all? But you know, when these situations come up, and when these situations present themselves to you, and I always think, right, okay, this is the universe telling me that I'm not meant to be around this situation right now, so I need to take a pass. And I need to really look at who I am as a person. What am I doing right now? Why am I within this? Why has this come up? What do I need to learn about myself? And how do I need to create a solution to go forward? Okay, so really learning, own who I am, be who I am meant to be, and be proud of that. Because for the people that I assist, you know, sometimes I'll rephrase that. I have a lot of energy all of the time. And I love that. And people say to me, how are you so energetic? And I was like, because I love what I do. Like, I'm so passionate about, you know, assisting. If anybody goes, oh, thanks for that, you know, so I'm like, yes, winning. Like, we're winning today. We're winning at last. We're winning. We're winning.
And that's a fabulous energy to keep going. And that's, you know, I think you'll know when you are in the flow, it's easy. And this is where, so if you're not in the flow and you don't feel that, there is something misaligned. There is something, and sometimes it can be the smallest thing. And you're not seeing it from, because we often are so stuck in seeing things from our own eyes. We don't always see, you can't see the wood for the trees. So that's why you always need somebody else's perspective, because sometimes we can get really stuck in how we see things, and it's sometimes someone else that can really help shine that, you know, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And the energy that you surround yourself with, and the attachments, and, you know, a lot of my one-to-one clients, I work with their cycle and the moon, and we look at where we are creative, where we are less creative, and we plan a strategy around the business to get the maximum benefit for them, so that you never have to feel that place of, oh, why can't I get into that flow today? Well, you're not meant to today. So we didn't plan anything on that day. We're meant to have self-care, go for lunch, have a run, connect with nature, go do a yoga session, meet up with friends, see family, create, you know, organize a holiday for your family. You know, it's all those things that we do on the days when we're not meant to be creating, because we are all different frequencies, and following the moon and the cycles, and like you said, the archetypes, and really exploring. One of the quotes I always use, and I've seen quite a few coaches doing it now, so I'm quite proud of this actually, because I always, you know, you have a little giggle to yourself, you're like, that was me. Knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is power, and knowledge dispels fear. And when you know more about who you are as a person, you literally are a powerhouse. The first thing I say, go and observe yourself. They're like, what? And I'm like, go and listen and write down everything you're telling yourself in your mind, because every single night when you go to bed, you are by yourself, whether you've got a partner, a cat, a dog, 6 children, and what's going on in here, if it is not ultimately joy and happiness, something's got to change.
Fantastic advice.
So, I mean, we're an hour and 45 minutes in, and I think we could chat all day about this. I think we definitely need to pick up, because I'd love to have you on my podcast as well, which I'm currently recording. So I think we'll definitely get another session in there. I will share the link with you on this as well. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacey. And I've got a new podcast, so it'll not be to maybe next year, but I'll definitely be getting you on for that.
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much,
everyone, for watching. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.